later that when I said that to him, he decided that he wanted to send up a special prayer for my mind to change. And if anybody knows anything about witchcraft, you can put 1 and 2 together and know what kind of prayer I'm talking about. And me with my saved, sanctified self was not.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is not Risa Tisa, but she is Risa Tisa 2.0, honey. This story is juicy, it's crazy. Let's hear what she got to say.
First of all, shout out to Risa because, baby, yeah. When I saw her story, I was like, girl, you got a story time that is so much like that. But I was like, no, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. But after further consideration, baby, here we are. So this is going to be the introduction to part 1 of who in the world did I marry? Now, I was married in 2019 and I was divorced by the end of 2020, the last day of the year to be exact. But let's rewind. We're going to call my ex-husband Alex. Alex and I met in 2012. Yep, 2012. Maybe 2000, no, it was 2012, when I was introduced to one of those multi-level marketing companies. Shout out to MLMs, because, baby, they did good to me. But it was one of those companies, and he was one of the people that was friends with the guy that introduced me. Back then, it was nothing. It was, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Everybody connected on, like, Facebook and all the different social media platforms, and that was that. Over the years, he became, like, a distant supporter. He lived basically the same town, like, where I live, like 3 different towns can kind of run into each other. But he became like a distant supporter on social media. But then I also started to see, like, he would always comment on different photos, and like it was like he was like trying to gas me up. But I was not attracted to him. I was not interested in him. He like was a cornball to me, and I was just like, no. And this was over a time span of 7 years. Like, there would be short social media conversations. I think he supported my businesses. I think he bought my book. And all of this is important because it shows you how somebody studies you. Now, I'm a social media influencer and have been influencing before it was actually influencing. So over the years, I've been sharing my story. I've been very public about my successes, my failures, things of that nature. So it wasn't a surprise. Some things wouldn't be a surprise for someone that has been following me so long to know. Also, something to know here, there's a 10 age gap. I am the younger party here. Alex is older than me. I've also shared a lot of love and relationship. I'm a love and relationship certified life coach, and I shared a lot of like things that I desired on social media even way back then. Like now, if you've been following me, you know my content is like a little bit more geared to single women. Back then it was just like my personal page. I was just sharing my own personal thoughts and things like that. But he was following me and he was keeping up. I should have known when he actually ordered my book that was a red flag, because looking back now, I'm like, when you read that book, you got a lot of information about me that I willingly released, because a lot of people read the book, but I talked a lot about what I wanted in a future husband. So this carries on for a few years. He's this distant supporter. He's like, you know, the guy that's always in your comments, and you're like, oh, here he go again, always commenting. But you know, it's always nice, it's always pleasant, so you can't just be like rude to them, right? And I just wasn't a rude person anyway, so if the compliments, I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that, thank you. And then like the little like flirty comments, I would just ignore. So this goes on for several years just on social media. That's that. I ended up leaving where I was currently living, and I ended up moving out of state to another state. While I'm in that state, I was there for about 2 years, and towards the end of the second year, Alex was back in my DMs and was back like trying to, this time he was like seriously trying to shoot his shot. So this was about August 2018. I remember he slid in my DMs responding to something that I posted about a husband, and he was like, you know, I was asking God if, you know, if it was his will, but I don't think he wants me to move to where I was living. And I was like, well, you're not my husband. Straight like it. I was like, you're not my husband. Now, I didn't know this then, but I found out later that when I said that to him, he decided that he wanted to send up a special prayer for my mind to change. And if anybody knows anything about witchcraft, you can put 1 and 2 together and know what kind of prayer I'm talking about. And me with my saved, sanctified self was not in the right place. Like me and God, we was not on bad terms, but I had just went through something in the church where I was just kind of like, I'm cool. I wasn't really reading my word. I wasn't in prayer like I used to. My discernment was still there, but you know what I'm saying? I was in a very vulnerable place. Now, that's not an excuse. I'm just letting you guys know, because everybody wants to know, well, how did you fall for that? If you said that wasn't your husband and he prayed a special prayer, how did you fall victim for that? Some of y'all falling victim for it right now. You don't even know it. So eventually, he kept being persistent, just having small talk with me. So eventually, I was like, well, Jennifer, let's just see what he's talking about. Like, I wanted to be married. I had been engaged before. That was 7 years prior. We didn't get married. And I was like, you know what, you do want to be married. Let me just see what he's talking about, right? Big mistake. He goes on to tell me how he has this call to ministry, how his parents are in ministry, they have a church, and tell me all of these things. I was looking at my phone to see if I still had the exact messages, and I couldn't find them because I'm pretty sure I deleted everything since then. But telling me all of these things that I was like, wow, this sounds like a lot in alignment with what God's been telling me about my husband. You know, he's checking the boxes. He wants to be married. He wants to have kids. I'm asking all of these different questions. And, you know, I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll give him a little bit of a chance. Mind you, this is long distance at the time. He starts off very strong with these, like, sending me these notes, like text messages every day that had, like, prayers on them and, like, all this inspiring messages. And, you know, in my mind, I'm like, you know, that's a good thing. But every time I would get them, I would wake up and see that he had texted me. I was so vexed in my spirit, and I was like, Jennifer, why do you feel like that? He's being nice to you. I know now that that was God trying to tell me early on, hey, abort mission. But because I was not in God's face, I wasn't listening. I wasn't in God's face. I wasn't in prayer, and I was going based off my own understanding. I shook it off as, Jennifer, you just tripping. And remind you, I'm not physically attracted to him. I'm just like, this is a nice guy. I am like, well, maybe, you know, Jennifer, you need to try something different. I'm trying to, like, talk myself into this. And because he's a nice guy. And, you know, he's sending the flowers. He's doing all the things right. I mean, Cash App here. He know I love crab legs. Go have crab legs. Even to the point, y'all, where I had my god kids for, they had came to visit and they needed to get back home. And he was like, well, I'm going to come down and visit you, and if they need to, they could ride back with me. So let me also make note of this. This is somebody that is mutual friends with people that I know that have also signed off and said that this is a good guy based off what they know, right? Because everybody's experience with somebody doesn't have to be the same, and all the experiences can be true. So that's another reason why I'm like, Jennifer, you know, you just tripping because he's being really nice to you. You're still kind of, you might just be a little burnt from a past situation. Like, give him a chance. Give him a chance. It's okay. But anywho, he was like, you know, if it's okay with the mom, I'll take them back to North Carolina. So the mom was like, oh yeah, cool. You know, he knows so-and-so. Everybody say he's a good guy. You know, cool. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. That's fine. Takes them home. And I think now we have gone from August of 2018 to I think I actually started, like, paying him more attention in December 2018. And then this was around, I forget the exact date when he took my nephews back, but nonetheless, you know, we're there. But, you know, there's the FaceTiming every day. There is the, what do you need? You need an oil change? Where's your gas at? What do you need for this? You know, I want to marry you. You're so beautiful. All the love bombing, baby. So then let's move to, I think it was March of 2019. He had a business trip and wanted me to come with him. And he was like, yeah, you know, I'll fly you first class, all of the things, you know. We go, wines and dines me, you know, whatever I wanted, the world was mine, right? But I was never sold on him. And my best friend till this day, she's like, you would always say, like, you just didn't have peace about something. Then one day I'm on the phone with him, and he is going to a routine doctor's appointment for to check on his heart and things like that. And when he was leaving the doctor's appointment, he's on the phone with me, and his doctor called him back and said, hey, I need you to get to the ER right now. And little did I know that from that moment forward, my life was about to shift and change very quickly. Okay, part 2 of Who in the World Did I Marry? Child, the ghetto. So I'm on the phone with him. He has to rush to the emergency room. Naturally, oh, and at this point, I am his girlfriend. I'm officially his girlfriend. We made it official, I believe it was March 7th. Yeah, I think it was March 7th. Now, keep that date in mind, because I'm going to tell you something that happened like a couple days before he asked me to be his girlfriend. That was like, seriously, bro? But anywho, keep that date in mind. I'm on the phone with him, and he's like, he's got to go to the emergency room. So me being the kind of girlfriend that I am, just the person that I am, I'm like, well, stay on the phone with me, stay on FaceTime with me. I want to know what's going on. So he gets there, they're running all of these tests, and they end up having to, I believe they ended up having to keep him overnight. They did have to keep him overnight, and I ended up staying on FaceTime with him all through the night, because I was like, I just need to keep my eyes on you, because something was going on with his heart. It was like, and I think he had to take like a stress test and some other type of test, but then it got to the point where he had to take this test that was like where the catheter had to go in and all of that good stuff. If you know anybody that's been through any type of open heart surgery or a test like that, you know what I'm talking about. So he's scared, naturally. So, I'm just like trying to be supportive. I'm in a whole nother state. I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, well, what am I supposed to do? And she was like, well, if that's the person that you plan on being with, you need to be by his side. If you feel like you need to be here, get here. So I'm an entrepreneur at the time. I'm still an entrepreneur, but I was a full-time entrepreneur. And I was like, you know what? Let me just look up a flight. I'm just going to go. I get there in time before he goes back for his testing, and he goes back, and when he comes back, the news that we get was like, not good. He has to have this open heart surgery. They explained all of the logistics, and of course nobody wants to hear that, because it's like, that's a very serious procedure, and it's life-threatening, and who wants anybody to crack your chest open and operate on your heart? So naturally we're all just kind of like, woof, what is going on? But I'm there, I'm by his side, I'm sticking with him. I'm gonna stick beside him, because that's the type of girl I am. When I'm with you, I'm with you, and I'm loyal. And in this case, maybe I was loyal to a fault. Also, let me bring this in here. I forget exactly when, but he also ended up connecting with my best friend and communicating with her, and also connecting with my mother. Even though I wasn't there when they first met, he was like, well, I want to meet your mom. So he reached out to my mother on Facebook and set up, I think it was a lunch date for them to meet, because he was so hell-bent on marrying me. And I'm like, well, you don't know my family. I'm here, like, da-da-da-da-da. He was like, well, I'm going to reach out to her and see what he says. She goes out to lunch with him. I need to ask my mom about the lunch again. Yeah, I need to ask her about the lunch. Ooh, and I forgot something, because I want y'all to keep in mind all the ways God was trying to, like, save me. Before I went on that business trip with him, my mother called me, and she said, I don't know why I have this feeling, but I'm scared for you. I should have known. And I'm like, Mom, why are you scared? Like, he's a good guy. I'm in good hands. Don't worry about anything. And she was like, I don't know. I got this feeling, and I'm scared for you. And that was God, and her motherly instinct saying, something ain't right about this man. She couldn't put a finger on it, but she was scared for me. Now back to being at the hospital. I'm at the hospital. My mom comes up there, and her husband comes up there. I have my friend that's a prophet come up there. I think my best friend even came up there at one point. Everybody's just being so supportive, because it's such a serious thing. I end up staying there for a couple of days before I went back. Like, I did a one-way flight, because I was like, I don't know what to expect. Let me just do a one-way flight. And then I think he might have paid for both flights. Or I paid for the first one, and he reimbursed me, and then he got the second one back. I forget, but that's neither here nor there. But while I'm there, I think we're now in, I forget the date, but it's in 2019, March, April 2019. I go to sleep that night, and I wake up hysterically crying, and I am scared. And I already know. Y'all ain't even got to tell me. The signs were there. But again, we live and we learn. But in the dream, let me actually see if I still had a dream written down. I can't find it. It was from it was 2019, but nonetheless, in the dream, God showed me everything that was about to happen to me if I married this man. Like, it was so detailed to the point where he was yelling and screaming at me at one point. I was scared. My family was there. Like, it was almost like my family was staked out under the stairs, like as if something happened, they were there to have my back. It showed his ex-wife in the part that she was going to play, and we'll talk about that later. It showed just how evil he was going to be to me. But mind you, I've never known him to be an evil man, not since I first met him in 2012. Our interactions on social media, even if, and I may have ran into him a couple times because, you know, we lived in the same area, every interaction was always pleasant. And up until this point, every interaction was pleasant. So when he sees that I'm like upset and I'm crying, he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I had this dream. You were being so mean to me. Da 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 da. Like, I am terrified. Okay. And I really didn't, I understood my dreams, but didn't understand my dreams like I understand my dreams now. But God was warning me, baby, that if I went through with being with this man and marrying him, and we weren't even engaged yet, that was what my life was going to look like. So he does the, no, I would never do that to you. No, babe, you just had a bad dream. So I'm like, maybe I did just have a bad dream. Maybe I'm just tripping because he's talking about marriage. The last time I was engaged, it was very devastating. And maybe I'm just tripping because I'm scared. I get back on the plane. I go back home. We figure out when he has to have his surgery, all of that jazz. We had a timeline for how we wanted to do things as far as getting engaged and getting married. And of course, because of the open heart surgery, that expedited things. Naturally, I want to be there for my man. I want to be there by his side when we do this, right? So that's what I do. In this time period, he's talking about rings and things with my best friend, showing her rings. One of them, it was like, who is wearing that? Like, do you know me? But the ring that he ended up getting ended up being beautiful. I think my best friend picked it out. My mom or my best friend, I'm not really sure, but everybody co-signed on it and made sure that I got a ring that was of my standard. Now again, he's in connection with my mom. My mom is building a rapport with him. They're building a relationship. She's like, oh, this is my son-in-law, da 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 da. My best friend is like, girl, he's being so intentional, like telling me all the things. Meanwhile, I'm still over here like, I don't know. But I'm telling myself, Jennifer, you're just fearful because you don't want history to repeat itself. When Luther said wait for love, I should have waited. So my birthday's coming up. And there's all this talk about, you know, I want to do this big thing for your birthday. I'm thinking about, of course, it's all extravagant. Flying you to Mexico, or it's flying you here, or doing this or doing that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. At this point, I'm kind of used to him, like, spoiling me and giving me all this stuff, although it always felt overwhelming. But I remember a good girlfriend of mine, she was saying when she first met her husband that his love felt overwhelming and they were fine. They're still together till this day. So I'm like, well, maybe I'm tripping, Jennifer. Like, he's being good to you. And just to be clear, you know, there were feelings developing during this time because after spending a certain amount of time with somebody, you do start to care about them. There was love there. And I'm like, Jennifer, it was almost like I hate to say it like this, but it was like I was forcing myself to love him. In a capacity that I didn't want to. It was like one of those, well, you're not really attracted to him, but you're attracted to who he is and who he presented. Let me say that. Okay. You're attracted to who he presented and what he was offering you and what you thought was good character, blah, blah, blah. So now it's time for my birthday surprise, and all I knew was that I was flying to where he was, and then I would know the rest of it pretty much when I got there. And that's where things get a little interesting. This, I would like to call, this was my get out of jail free card. And I didn't take it. And God kept giving them to me. But I didn't take it. So I fly to where he was living at the time. And it's my birthday. All right, part 3. Who in the world, who the heck, what in the why, girl, did you marry this man? So it's my birthday. I'm gonna kind of like summarize this for the most part because I don't remember every detail, but it's my birthday. Well, maybe the day before my birthday. I think it was, I arrived the day before my birthday. And he has like all of these things set up. So the first thing that he has set up is I wake up and I'm told to get dressed and that I'm going to have like a spa day and that I have my driver coming to pick me up. Now, mind you, y'all, he has his own house. I'm staying with him at his house. We're going to talk about the house later because all I'm going to say is he ain't have no business getting me a driver with his house being the way that his house was. Anywho, gets me a driver. I think it was one of his friends that has a car company. They picked me up from the house. I think that that's dope, you know. I might have got some flowers or something too. I don't remember. But, you know, I go get my massage, spa day, all of that good jazz. After that, we go have lunch with his daughters at one of my favorite restaurants. So I was like, okay, that's cute, you know, inviting me into the family, incorporating me, and all of that good stuff. And then what happened after that? I think I had like some rest time per se. But the whole day, y'all, I just was like, this man is going to propose to me, and I just wasn't settled yet, right? Like, I felt like I needed more time, and Lord knows I did. I should have just listened to God, like, from the first time. The first time that I responded to that man in August of 2018 and said, but you're not my husband, I should have just exited the chat and never came back. But here we are. Dinner reservations. We go to, he has a hotel room decorated for me for my birthday, all of that cute stuff. And then we have a dinner reservation at this really nice restaurant right across the way. So I'm like, okay, cool. We go to dinner. That's cool. We go to dinner, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, basically he was trying to like tell me that after that, the driver was going to come get us and he was just going to take us downtown and we just were going to like, have a night on the town and have fun for the rest of my birthday. But I know that something's up. I'm like, yeah, something's up. So we leave the restaurant and go back to the hotel, which has like a rooftop where you can kind of like go up there if you want to grab a cocktail or just kind of like kick it. He was like, hey, let's go upstairs while we wait for the driver. He's running behind. I think that was the excuse. And we walk outside, and I walk outside to my family and friends, a videographer, and showtime. Now, don't get me wrong. When I finally did look back on my proposal video, it was a very nice proposal, but I can still feel the feelings I felt in that video because it wasn't like the kind of like, when a girl gets proposed to and she's like, oh my God. And like, she drops down and she's crying because she sees her family and she finally notices what's going on. I just kind of like walked in and smiled like, hey y'all, okay, y'all here for my birthday. But then it was kind of awkward because I was like, I know you're proposing, but then he didn't start proposing. And then like he's like mic'd up and everything. He starts this speech. The speech was nice. He was a writer too, so writers they can write. Manipulators can say whatever they need to say in order to get what they want. So he says a speech. It was nothing that made me like start crying or anything. It was just very sweet, and I say yes, put the ring on, and it's like I'm going like in my insides. I'm like, Jennifer, this is not really. You don't really have full peace about this, but I'm just going with it. I'm just going with it, y'all. Knowing full and well. Well, I didn't know full and well. I'm not even going to say that because if I knew and I was sure that I knew, I wouldn't have went through with it. I just didn't have peace, and I didn't know why I didn't have peace, and I kept second-guessing myself. I kept second-guessing my discernment and second-guessing the voice of God that was literally, when I look back now, screaming at me. So, there's cake, there's, my friends there. So we enjoy the rest of the evening. There's no night out on the town. I go to sleep. I forget how long I ended up staying. But, I leave and go back to where I was living at the time, a fiance. Second time I'm a fiance. Second time I'm like a 90-day fiance. I should just know. I should just like, I've learned my lesson, y'all. I don't want to be a 90-day fiance no more. Let me take that back. I can be a 90-day fiance with the right man. With the right man. But, you know, now it's like, okay, we have a date for the surgery. We're like, okay, that means that I would have to expedite my move. I wasn't going to move to where he was until like August. We're in April at the time, which meant I would have to move by May, which expedited things. I mean, I had to get somebody to take over my lease, which is a whole nother story. The agreement was that I was going to sell all my furniture because we were going to refurnish the house. Because again, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all about the house. Let me tell y'all about the house. We were going to refurnish the house because I was raised in certain living standards. Okay. I was not raised with, I'm embarrassed even saying this, carpets that were stained with dog poop, pee from years of just not cleaning, wallpaper that was from the looked like 50s on the walls. I mean, just outdated, didn't look good, just wasn't my standard. So one of the things that he said was like, he was like, well, you know, you can, and the furniture that I had was very girly. So it wasn't like I had like a purple couch. I was living in the city, you know, as a girly girl. I didn't have furniture that would have like meshed well in. So the agreement was that we were going to get new furniture. We were going to paint the walls. Now he had already painted one room. I think that was maybe the kitchen, which was the worst. Child, that one was the worst. I think, and we were that was the agreement. You sell your stuff. We're going to go get all new furniture for the home. We're going to start this new life together. All the lies. Now it's time for me to move. I remember I had to go on a business trip in Colorado. I came back from the business trip. I was already packed up. I packed up my things and I left and I went to go move in with him. Of course, he, you know, paid for all of that. I pocketed some money from the furniture that I sold. It wasn't a lot of furniture. Like, it wasn't a whole lot. But, you know, I'm under the pretense that we're going to get this new furniture. We're going to redesign this home, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. All lies. So I get there. I think I moved in the day, like maybe 2 days before his surgery, 2 or 3. I think it was 2 days. Maybe the day before. Don't quote me. Nonetheless, you know, his family is there. Everybody's moving my stuff in. You know, this is a big transition for everybody. We got the fiance moving in. We got the heart surgery. It was just, you know, a lot going on. So, you know, I'm excited on one hand because I'm like, okay, Jennifer, like, this is what you've always wanted. Like, you want to be married. One of my dreams was that my husband would move me into a house. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about housing because when my husband came along, he would already have a house and he would move me in. So I'm like, you know, this is what you've been praying for. So, you know, I'm like falling in love with the idea of this becoming, like our girl said, like, this is a dream come true. I'm getting the fairy tale. And wasn't no fairy tale to be found. But so, you know, him and I had decided privately that before we were going to go into surgery, he told me he didn't want to go into surgery without me being his wife. So I was like, well, you know, we can just go to the courthouse. I don't know if it was my idea or his idea, but we agreed. I'll say that. We agreed to go to the courthouse. We got married, and this is the day before the surgery. We didn't. Well, I told my mom, and my mom was pissed. She didn't really tell me how pissed she was at the time, but she was pissed because she had told him not to do that. But the ink had already dried, baby, and we're going. Excuse me. We're going into surgery the next day. Go into surgery the next day. Well, that night he had to do all his prep, you know, all the things that you have to do. I'm being the supportive now wife that I am, and I'm like helping him get ready. You know, everything's still on the up and up. He's still treating me like a queen. And then the next day we get ready to go into surgery. And after surgery, everything changed. All right, we're back. I think this is like part 4 of Jennifer, what were you doing? Who in the world did you agree to marry? And I remembered something that I didn't mention in the beginning of the love bombing was I had posted around Christmas time of 2018 several things I wanted for Christmas, and one of the things I wanted was an air fryer. And he saw that and he was like, can I get you the air fryer? And I was like, and I'm like, he was like, I was reluctant, and he was like, he said, it'll be me sowing a seed into you. So I'm like, all right, you know, go ahead, sow the seed into me, you know. So he got me the air fryer as a gift. And this is before, you know, we're in a relationship or anything. So I wanted to make sure I made mention of that, because it was a lot of things that he did, from first class flights to paying for things that were love bombing. And also I want to make note that this is not somebody that was a scammer. He actually had legitimate verifiable income. Another thing I wanted to know, I remember when we were just like dating, getting to know each other better, he had made a Facebook post, and I was friends with him on Facebook, but I was also friends with his ex-wife on Facebook, just because, you know, all from the same city. I forget how she and I connected years ago online. I always post inspiring things, so that might have been why, but she would like my stuff, I would like her stuff. I never really connected the two of them, but in that time period, I was like, oh, that's his ex-wife. But I had commented something on his post, and she had commented, she was like, oh, I could totally see this. Mind you, she's in her own relationship. She's moved on, and she wants him to be happy. So she's like, oh, I could totally, Jennifer is amazing. I forget the exact wording that she said, but she was like, I could totally see you two together. So that was another thing I was like, okay, well, even she's like on board with this. So, you know, that's like giving me peace. I'm like, okay, your ex-wife has moved on. She's in support of you moving on. You know, those are all things that I'm like, okay, these are green flags. All is well. Where I left off was we were getting ready to go in for surgery. So another thing that I want to clear up before we go any further, this is not to bash him. This is not to, you know, slander him or anything like that. Like, he has been forgiven. What happened between us happened, you know, it's done, it's over with. So this is not what this video was for, but I haven't been able to like fully explain to people everything that happened. Like, you know, my family was there, my friends that were sticking beside me during that time that I confided in, they knew what was going on, but I've never fully told the story. And there's a lot of things that I like just left out, but it's going to make for a good story nonetheless. But anywho, so we're getting ready to go into surgery, and it's the morning of, we're going into surgery. You know, I drive him there, you know, his family and everybody's there. He goes in, we pray, do all the things. He goes in for surgery, you know, naturally, because I'm your wife now, you know, I did love him, and I'm like, you know, I'm nervous. I'm like, you know, this is a major surgery. So we're all sitting in the waiting area. I think it was me, his mom, were his kids there? I think his kids were there too. We're all waiting, you know, watching the screen like you do, trying to make sure that, you know, everything is good, and just waiting the hours until he comes out. So he finally comes out of surgery. He wakes up, you know, people wake up from surgery different ways, and he's like, you know, where's Jennifer? Where's Jennifer? He's calling for me. They're like, Jennifer, he's calling for you. So I go in there, you know, I let him know I'm here, because one of the agreements that we made was that I would stay by his side the whole time he was in the hospital. Like, we agreed that I would stay there, sleep there, etc. That's what he wanted. I was his wife. I was in agreement. That was what we decided. So he wakes up, and I'm like, okay, you're good. So, you know, fast forward to when things get a little sticky. Now, he had already spoken to me about his relationship with his ex-wife and how they co-parent, etc. And he was like, you know, they're cool. He was like, but it was nothing too deep, which was, I learned to be a lie later. Not that they were still sleeping together, nothing like that, but they were closer than what he had revealed. So she came to the hospital, you know, she's there with her daughter and all that. And, you know, I understand that. He was her fiance at the time. Or was he her husband? He was her fiance. Her fiance at the time. And let me also say this, like, I see her and her husband out all the time now, and it's all love. And just put a pin in that too, because that gets a little crazy. So everybody's there, and we get to the point where it's time for him to be transferred out of ICU to his room. So the time that we're like spending in the waiting area, you know, I'm getting to know his mom better or whatever, and I am noticing a couple things, and I'm also noticing some things that were just kind of like not really sitting well with me, and I could sense there was some tension. So when he gets moved to his room, you know, naturally his mom is doing what a mom does, making sure her son is okay. And I have nothing against that, but they got to a point where it was like, she was trying to boot me out of being present. I had to free up some storage in order to record this, so I'm back. But part 5 of Jennifer, you crazy as hell for marrying this man, okay? So I felt disrespected. She came in there and she did what she did. And I called my mom. I told my mom what happened, and my mom's like, because my mom had just left from visiting. She was like, do you need me to come back up there? I said, absolutely, because I'm gonna say something. Like, I'm gonna say something. Now, when we sat down and we had the conversation, you know, it started off respectful, but because she looked at me as a little girl and not the grown woman that I was, she thought that she could talk at me, et cetera, et cetera. It became a heated discussion, and I revealed to her, I was like, well, I'm his wife. Shane like that, because Shane know, and her son had kept that from her. So, probably not the best timing, but we live and we learn. Nonetheless, she runs back into his room. She's upset with him, getting him riled up, which is the wrong thing to do because he just had open heart surgery. He doesn't need the stress. Everything calms down. I forget exactly what words were said and what he said, but I think he was like, I can't have this stress and da-da-da. And I was like, you know what, he's right. He shouldn't have that stress. So she ends up leaving. I stay. Him and I have a conversation. We talk it out because, again, we're married. So after that night, I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to clear the air tomorrow because at the end of the day, I don't want to start off my introduction into this new family like this. So the next day, I talked to her, and her husband is with her. I talked to them. We have a good conversation. We clear the air, all is well. You know, I stayed with him for the rest of his stay at the hospital. He did not like the way that everything went down, but to my knowledge, I thought, you know, it was over with. Everybody was forgiven. Everybody forgave each other. We're moving on. But if you know anything about people that have toxic behaviors, and I'm not saying that he's a narcissist, but he mirrors one. Once you do something wrong, they don't forget about it. Or something they deem wrong, they don't forget about it. You know, I also have people in my corner, my wise counsel and everything, you know, they're telling me like how I should have handled it. You know, you definitely should stick up for yourself, you know, etc. But, you know, there's ways that things could have been done. It was handled poorly on everybody's behalf, I can say, honestly, looking back. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up for myself. Nobody puts baby in the corner. So now we get home. Of course, you know, everybody's making sure he's okay. There's all these instructions that we have. You know, I'm still kind of unpacking all the things. And, you know, family's there, so everybody's like getting to know each other. Whoop-de-whoop. And then something in him just started to shift. And I was like, he's not treating me like he normally does, you know, but it's only me he's treating like he doesn't normally treat. So I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. I've done all the research, so I know all of the like personality things that can come with after someone who has had open heart surgery, like pump head and, you know, like them not really feeling like themselves and all of the things. Like I have joined the Facebook support groups, I watched the YouTube videos. I mean, I have done my due diligence, okay? But it's like he is like targeting me as like a bad guy. And I was just like, well, this is strange because he's never treated me this way. He's always been super nice. He's like pretty much worshiped the ground that I walked on. Like I could do no wrong. And I was just like, it was like a light switch. You know, we had gotten home, gotten settled, and things were good. And then it was like a light switch, things changed. I remember, and I'm going to give you guys like different things that happened. I think that's where I'm going to start from this point. Different things that he did that were just like, what? So I remember it was one morning, all I did was wake up, y'all. I woke up and I just like naturally, I think I just turned his direction and he was like, what are you looking at? And I'm like, bro, I just woke up. Good morning. But I'm also confused. I'm like, why are you treating me so mean? And like this like distant behavior, this meanness, this like cold shoulder thing. I was just like so confused, and I was completely devastated. And I'm devastated because obviously, like, I just married this man. I've gone through a broken engagement before. So I'm like, no. It felt like that devastation from my broken engagement. Now, if y'all want that story time, that's a whole nother story time. Y'all let me know in the comments. I'll give you that story too. That was in like 2013. But I'm devastated, right? And I'm like, this man just had me uproot myself from where I was good and happy, living my good life, selling my furniture to move here, and now this is how you treat me? Oh, absolutely not. And this is where the cycle of abuse came in. Now, he never physically put his hands on me. There was one time he I think he hit the wall and he knocked my cup out of my hand, but he never physically put his hands on me because he was stupid, but he wasn't that stupid. And when I say the cycle of emotional abuse, more so emotional, mental, and some financial too, but this cycle of abuse started where, you know, some days he loved me, some days he didn't. Some days he wanted to snuggle with me, some days he didn't. Some days I was, you know, I'm so happy I'm married to you. Then some days he's like, I should have never married you. It was a huge mistake. So that alone was something I had never experienced before. But I'm also like, Jennifer, you're a wife now. And, you know, when you're a wife, you have to be supportive. I'm like, you know, through the good and the bad. And I'm like, our bad is right now. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, this is just our bad because of the circumstances. You know, he had surgery. This is not how people typically start their marriage. You know, give him some grace, right? Give him some grace. He's trying to heal from this traumatic surgery. I'm seeking out other women in the support groups, reading their stories. I'm telling them what I'm going through. They're like giving me encouragement. I'm thinking that it's like due to the surgery and this is just what it is. And it's like, okay, Jennifer, just hold on. You know, I'm also a woman of God, so I'm seeking wise counsel. I'm getting prophetic words like, you know, it's going to turn around. So I'm like, okay, Jennifer, just hold on. You know, it's just a bad moment of your marriage. This is what I'm thinking. So then this is like probably like the surgery was in May. We got married in May. This is probably like June, July. I think it was more so July. You know, it got to the point where it's like, he was like, I want you to move out, da 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 da. I was like, okay, if you want me to move out, you need to make sure I'm comfortable because you moved me here. Okay? I'll move out, but you're going to make sure I'm comfortable. So we go and we look at apartments. We found one. We get approved. He puts his name on the application too. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's going to put his name on the application too, so that this will be temporary, just so he can have some space. And then, you know, we'll work on things, just not living together. Get approved, and then it's time for us to sign the paperwork, and I bring it up to him. Oh, we even went as far as going to the furniture store to look for furniture because he knew he had to replace my furniture. It's time for us to sign the lease because, you know, there's time limits on these things, and he's like, you know what, I want us to work on the marriage, da 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 da. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is a good sign, whatever. I'm a C, right? I'm hopeful, right? I'm a new wife. I'm hopeful. There was also a point in time where we tried to go to counseling. We tried 2 different counselors. The first one, I actually looked at his paperwork, and honestly, it was heartbreaking when I looked at his paperwork because, you know, everybody, you do your intake paperwork. He just wrote in different places like, I just don't want to be married to her. She's like, she's this and she's that. Like, it was heartbreaking to read because I'm like, how do you feel that way about me? Like, I was just the queen of your world. Like, it was so confusing because it was literally 2 different people. It was like, what? And here's another thing. He had gotten good about not showing people how he treated me in private. When it was, and then, you know, there was a time I did catch him though. Like, he would kind of just, like, around people, he just would be like, you know, okay. But when he got me in private, oh, that's when things were different. But, and I was telling his mom and his family, I'm like, you know, this is what he's doing. And she's like, I didn't raise him like that. That's not my son, da, 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 da. And I was like, okay. Okay, Sheila. And her name ain't Sheila. But okay, Sheila. That ain't your son. You ain't raised him like that. Cool. So one day in the middle of one of his outbursts, I went ahead and opened up my phone and I did what? I hit record. Because who you finna lie on to make it seem like I'm crazy when you are? So I hit record and I go ahead and I send that recording to his mother. And she goes, I didn't raise him like that. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna now you believe me. Now I ain't raised him like that. Da, 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 da. But you thought I was lying before. And I think I even still have some of those recordings. Let me see if I can find them. And I'll let you know exactly what that recording said. Next part. Part 6 of Girl, You Should Have Known Better. But in the midst of me trying to find that recording, I found another recording. So let's rewind a little bit back to May. The issue with the ex-wife and her just always being in the mix, which just was weird to me. We end up all having a sit-down conversation. He's like, you know, because I had sent her a message. I forgot what I sent her, but I sent her a message, and we all needed to have a round table just so everybody could get on the same page. But that's what I'm listening to now. I'm gonna summarize it for you. I'll be right back. In this conversation, she's just expressing like how when I came into the fold of things, you know, she was happy, and she had mentioned to me, she was like, you know, she could be a bit much, so if I had any issues with her, to come to her. And that's what I did. That's why I sent the message, because I had an issue. I don't remember exactly what my issue was, but I had an issue. But one thing about me, and then another thing she had said, she was like, you know, I'm older than you, and I've seen some things. Like, they kept trying to little girl me. Like, I ain't know what I was talking about. Like, I ain't know what I was talking about. I had made some poor decisions. I made some naive decisions, especially when I said yes to this man. But when I was in that thing and God started opening my eyes, I was seeing exactly what I was seeing. And just put a pin in that, because they so she's like, you know, they're friends, etc. And then she was like, the insecurity. She was like, I don't know where they're coming from. I'm no way insecure. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. I won't take that away from her, but I don't ever see another woman as a threat, ever. But she was like, the insecurity. She was like, I don't know where they're coming from. Maybe they need to be dealt with in therapy. I'm in therapy, and I'm just like, I forget exactly how I was sitting there, but I probably was not the happiest on the inside listening. So as I'm listening to the conversation, it was beginning to go left, because it was like she was expressing how, you know, how her child felt about the situation, and how she didn't take to that, and how she didn't like that because it was her child. And, you know, listening back on, I'm like, I get it, I understand. But the way she was talking, though, I think he looked at me and probably was like, oh, she gonna swing on her. She gonna swing on her, because I'm not an arguer. I'm the type of person, I'm gonna let you talk long enough until I'm gonna shut you up. Well, that's how I used to be. I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. Now, I don't put my hands on people no more, but there was a time. But anywho, he interjects and he's like, hey, can we keep a positive tone here? Just trying to like bring the conversation back to a level set, I guess. And this is not the first time him and her have had to have a sit down, but I'll talk about that down the line too. Then she made a comment. She was like, you know, we're just friends. He's welcome at my house and I'm welcome at his house. And I'm like, this is my house now. Well, it's our house, but there's a new queen of this castle. You know what I'm saying? So he interjects. Because he's like, let me clean that up. And he's like, you know, we have boundaries. And he was like, you know, even when she drops the child off because they co-parent, you know, she never comes into the house, and she agrees or whatever. But there was like a little bit of like, and this is in my opinion, there was a little bit of like, I gotta still stake my claim. Like, I still run this a little bit over here that was like coming off from her. And I was just like, I just don't understand, like, why you think that you could tell another grown woman what you was going to do concerning her marriage or the house that she now lives in. So he goes into this whole, you know, I didn't consider that. I didn't think about that because, you know, she never comes into the house. And then she goes on to, well, yeah, I never come into the house, and that's my boundary. But just a second ago, everybody was welcome in everybody else's houses. That was how it was trying to be portrayed to me until it got cleared up. So they were trying to say it was just because it was special circumstances, the reason why she had kept popping up. I just remembered when I first came the first time when he got the diagnosis, she popped up then at the house and came in the house then. So I'm like, hi, like, you know, okay, you're here. Then at the hospital, she kept popping up. And then you're decorating the house for the party. And then even at that, you just, as a new wife, you don't want to deal with having to see another woman that much, right? Especially when you have been given the belief that y'all ain't even cool like that. Had it been explained to me that they were like, you know, they co-parent this way, you know, they're really good friends, it would have given me a different perspective on how to look at that. I would have seen it from a different viewpoint. But when you're telling me one thing and I'm seeing another, I got an issue with that. So she felt like, she said something along the lines like, she felt like I just wanted this perfect bubble. No, I just wanted the truth. I didn't care what if the bubble included you, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew of her prior to this, and I was like, okay, if y'all got a good thing, co-parenting thing going on, cool. I'm okay with that. But to the other recording where the one that I sent his mom, he's basically telling me, he's like, you know, I've been trying to be nice, but you really pressing me, and I'm trying, and if you can't just leave me the F alone, then you can go. And I was like, and I said it in just the same words I'm about to say it. And I said, but I'm not bothering you, because when I tell y'all I was not bothering this man, I was not bothering. So he goes, it's a shame you think this is a game. And I was like, I don't think that this is a game. I do think you need some help. Like, I think you need to go sit down and talk to somebody because you acting crazy. I gotta stop laughing listening to these. I wish I could just play them for you. Because the comedy. He's like, I feel the way I feel, and you're just making it worse. So I'm like, I'm making it worse. How? I'm like, all I'm doing is living in the house that you wanted me to live in, the one that you paid for me to come to, the one that you were so adamant about getting me back here to be in with you because you wanted to be with me. The confusion. So this man goes, yo, Slim, who you talking to? So I'm like, I'm talking to you, because this is the discussion that we had before I came here. Like, you the one that flipped the script. You're the one that changed. I am still the same person. Nothing shifted with me. So I'm reiterating to him, like, you know, you're the same man that said, I would marry you yesterday, da. You're the one that's going to my friends, my family. Like, you have made it this big thing to make everybody comfortable, because my family don't play about me. And after what I had went through several years ago with my broken engagement, they're like, we don't want nothing to happen to her. Like, we love each other in my family, you know what I'm saying? And they do not play about me. So you went through all of these great lengths to make yourself seem like this really great person, and for them to trust you, and now you're acting crazy. You're acting crazy. And then he was like, well, tell me one thing that I did to be mean to you. And I'm like, look at you. You're being mean right now. So then I give him an example. I bring up the time where, you know, I said, I just turned around and you were giving me this evil stare. And then he starts yelling. He goes, I keep asking you to give me, and he curses, specifics. So I'm like, well, there's one, because now he's getting all like, he's doing what I'm saying he's doing. But his daughter was in the house and it upset her, and she came in, and then, you know, she was like, can you please calm down? And that's when he calmed down. And of course, it was my fault that she was upset. So he apologizes to her. I apologize too, because I'm like, you know, it's the right thing to do. And she leaves out the room. And then I look at him, I said, this is why you need help. This is tearing your girls apart. And I'm being calm. I'm still being calm, y'all. I really wish I could play this recording for y'all, but I don't know if that's illegal or not here in North Carolina. But somebody, if you a lawyer, let me know. But because it's way more entertaining if you can listen to it. So after I say, do you realize that this is tearing your girls apart? He's like, first of all, why are you still talking to me? And then goes on to say, I keep asking you for specifics, and you're not giving me no specifics. So do you want me to talk to you, or do you not want me to talk to you? Y'all see the kind of madness I was going through? So then he ends up like saying, like, don't say nothing else to me. I was like, don't say nothing else to me. He was like, get out. And I was like, I'm not going nowhere. And I think this might have been the day he called the police. And of course, because nobody put their hands on each other, really nothing happened. There's just so much to unpack, because I forgot about so many different recordings that I have in my phone, y'all. I think I'm gonna just call this next series Just Listen, because I'm listening back like, boy, this was a hot mess. But nonetheless, he tried the whole police thing. That didn't work. And mind you, in the midst of all of this, where we still have this back and forth, like we're still being intimate, we're married. There's these sweet moments, and then there's these sour moments, and then it's like this back and forth. He wants me here, he doesn't want me here. It was all over the place. Emotionally and mentally, I was like, phew. We tried the counselor. The first counselor didn't work. Tried a second counselor. At some point, the second counselor didn't work. So then I went to therapy for my good self. And that was probably the best thing I could have done that whole time in that marriage. Next.